The Palace Thief, Ethan Canaan, Section 2. I first met him when I'd been teaching history at St. Benedict's for only 5 years, in the autumn after his father had been delivered to office on the shoulders of Southern patricians, frightened by the unionization of steel and mine workers. Sedgwick appeared in my classroom in November of 1945 in a short pantsuit. It was midway through the fall term, that term in which I brought the boys forth from the philosophical idealism of the Greeks into the realm of commerce, military might, and the law, which had given Julius Caesar his prerogative from Macedonia to Seville. My students, of course, were agitated. It is a sad distinction of that age group, the exuberance with which the boys abandoned the moral endeavor of Plato and embraced the powerful, pragmatic hand of Augustus. The more sensitive ones had grown silent, and for several weeks our class discussions had been dominated by the martial instincts of the coarser boys. Of course, I was sorry for this, but I was well aware of the import of what I taught at St. Benedict's. Our headmaster, Mr. Woodbridge, made us continually aware of the role our students would eventually play in the affairs of our country. My classroom was, in fact, a tribute to the lofty ideals of man, which I hoped would inspire my boys, and at the same time to the fleeting nature of human accomplishment, which I hoped would temper their ambition with humility. It was a dual tactic, with which Mr. Woodbridge heartily agreed, and above the doorframe hung a tablet made as a term project by Henry L. Stimson when he was a boy here, that I hoped would reach my students of the irony and history that history bestows upon ambition. In clay relief it said, "I am Shutruk Nahunte, king of Anshan and Susa, sovereign of the land of Elam. By the command of Inshushinak, I destroyed Sipar, took the steel of Naram Sin, and brought it back to Elam, where I erected it as an offering to my god, Inshushinak." Shutruk Nahunte, 1158 BC. I always noted this tablet to the boys on their first day in my classroom, partly to inform them of their predecessors at St. Benedict's, and partly to remind them of the great ambition and conquest that had been utterly forgotten centuries before they were born. Afterwards, I had one of them recite, from the wall where it hung above my desk, Shelley's Ozymandias. It is critical for any man of import to understand his own insignificance before the sands of time. And this is what my classroom always showed my boys. As young Sedgwick Bell stood in the doorway of that classroom his first day at St. Benedict's, however, it was apparent that such efforts would be lost on him. I could see that he was not only a dullard, but a rustabout. The boys happened to be wearing the togas they had made from sheets and safety pins the day before, spreading their knees like magistrates in the wooden desk chairs, and I was taking them through the recitation of the emperors, when Mr. Woodbridge entered alongside the stout, red-faced Sedgwick and introduced him to the class. I had taught for several years already, as I've said, and I knew the look of frightened, desperate bravado on a new boy's face. Sedgwick Bill did not wear this look. Rather, he wore one of disdain. The boys, 15 in all, were instantly intimidated into sensing the foolishness of their improvised cloaks, and one of them, Fred Massaudi, the leader of the dullards, though far from a dullard himself, said to mild laughter, "Where's your toga, kid?" And Sedgwick Bell answered, Your mother must be wearing your pants today." It took me a moment to regain the attention of the class, and when Sedgwick was seated, I had him go to the board and copy out the emperors. Of course, he did not know the names of any of them, and my boys had to call them out, repeatedly correcting his spelling as he wrote out in sloppy hand, Augustus, Tiberius, Caligula, Claudius, Nero, Galbo, Otho, all the while lifting and resettling the legs of his short pants in mockery of what his new students were wearing. "Young man," I said, "this is a serious class, and I expect that you will take it seriously." "Well, if it's such a serious class, then why are they all wearing dresses?" he responded, again to laughter, although by now Fred Massaudi had loosened the rope at his waist, and the boys around him were shifting uncomfortably in their togas. From that first day, Cedric Bell was a bore and a bully, a damper to the illumination of the eager minds of my boys, and a purveyor of the mean-spirited humor that is like kerosene in a school such as ours. What I asked of my boys that semester was simple: that they learn the facts I presented to them in an outline of ancient Roman history, which I had whittled through my years of teaching to exactly 4 closely typed pages. Yet Cedric Bell was unwilling to do so. He was a poor student, and on his first exam could not even tell me who it was that Mark Antony and Octavian had routed at Philippi, nor who Octavian later became, although an average wood beetle in the floor of my classroom could have done so with ease. Furthermore, as soon as he arrived, he began a stream of capers using spitballs, wads of gum, and thumbtacks. Of course, it was common for a new boy to engage his comrades thusly, but Cedric Bell then began to add the dangerous element of natural leadership, which is based on the physical strength of his features, to his otherwise puerile antics. He organized the boys, and at exactly 15 minutes to the hour, they would all drop their pencils at once, or cough, or slap close their books, so that writing at the backboard, my hands would jump in the air. And at a boys' school, of course, punishment is a cultivated art. Whenever one of these antics occurred, I simply made a point of calling on Cedric Bell to answer a question. General laughter usually followed his stabs at answers, and although Cedric himself usually laughed along with everyone else, it did not require a great deal of insight to know that the tactic would work. The organized events began to occur less frequently.